So, guys, how many of you have seen the movie Office Space? So, perhaps the most memorable scene in the movie is when there is this guy wearing glasses who shows up to every cubicle and he asks them, "Have you done your TPS report yet?" Throughout the movie, there is never any explanation on what that TPS report is, why it is needed, but everyone gets very, very annoyed if you haven't filed your TPS reports. I think the way data governance currently run and structured within firms, it's almost like having to file your TPS reports. No one knows why you need to do it. No one knows what are the things that it is enabling you to do, but you are now suddenly accused that because of you and whatever you do and do not do, we have not been able to file our Basel report, while never explaining to you what the Basel report actually even is. Well, so from that perspective, the role of chief data officer and data and how data gets run in general, it's just like this dragon that is protecting this currency of all the regulations that you just need to comply with. And then all these words get thrown around: data classification, discovery, lineage, taxonomy, classification, access control. And you just have to do all of them. But the way it gets structured is all of this is someone else's problem. It's the chief data officer's problem. It's the data governance problem. No one ever explains to you why it is your problem. It's something that you need to do, you must do, but is it really something that you should also want to do? And that's what I'm here for, in order to talk about why this is something that you would want to do, why you would want to achieve data governance in your firm. And the way I see it, data governance and proper data governance actually is a key enabler to all of these different things and much, much more. So for example, when we talk about flexibility, how does data governance allow you to do that? So at the moment, I'm the chief architect for State Street, and in my prior role in 2016, I created a startup which was acquired by State Street in 2018. So my startup, start to finish, 2.5 years. But under the hood, I changed the database 5 times. At first, when I started, I had no money, I had no team, I had no clients. So I just went with something that was the cheapest. Then I started getting clients. I still hadn't built my team, so I wanted to set it up in such a way that it is more maintainable. Then I started building a team, and I started getting more clients, so then I had to build it for scale. Then I started getting complicated clients, so I had to redo it for flexibility around user-defined functions. And then finally, I had to do it for speed. So I changed the database 5 different times, but our clients could never tell what is happening behind the scenes. And that is because right from the very beginning, we took data governance very, very seriously. We stumble upon small things. How many of you have looked at database tables where it is the same column name, one with space and another with underscore? And that's because what ends up happening is you start without explaining your dictionary. You will start with the space, and then you realize that your client's parsing, and when you send this as a CSV, it starts becoming a nightmare. Then you change it to underscore, but you have no way to actually change the database itself because you don't know who are your clients, who are consuming those reports, what they are doing with it, and how they are finally ingesting all of this information. While if you are on top of it, you would never have to worry about flexibility. Then when we talk about things like monetizability, so we recently acquired a contract to get market data within our firm. And I sat down with the market data vendor, and I was speaking to them about what are the data sources. And then I realized that what the contract I've just signed for $1 million to buy market data into State Street, State Street is actually contributing 20% of that data for free back to the exchange. Now, the thing is, if we knew about all our data, the wealth that we sit on, we have a way to store it, then you will have a way to monetize it as well. And the problem is, even no one talks about data governance. There are plenty of database companies over here, and there is a very, very clear demarcation between database companies, and what they would talk about is we can ingest petabytes of data and we can run queries in millisecond level basis. No one is talking about data governance in any of the data companies. And then there are other companies which are very, very specifically focused on data governance, making data governance successful. What we need to do is bring all of these together and speak about it in a single term. You cannot manage data without data governance, and you cannot make data governance someone else's problem. It is your problem, and it is not your problem. It is actually your solution. This is something that you should want to do. When we talk about things like security, so until and unless you know who your clients are, how they ingest your reports, what are your endpoints, you would never be able to talk to the regulators and talk to them about how you can prevent IDDs within the firm. When we talk about connectivity, when we talk about extensibility, what you want to do is, anytime you start your software, you create your software, you go through your journey, you never know where you will end up. Your clients, they always demand new things. There are always your environment that is constantly changing. And if you are on top of your data governance and you fully understand where it originates, where it ends, then you can always simply add new functionalities, new modules as plugins in order to be able to further extend everything that you do as a firm. So the key thing here is that data governance, at the end of the day, it's a moat to your business, and it's not a barrier. And with all the technologies that are currently at our disposal, like BigID, what you can do is, it is something which no longer gets done in Excel spreadsheets, which get filed away, printed, and the guy sitting in the basement with a stapler then adds them all up. There are now modern tools which can be directly integrated with all your databases in order to make sure that you don't have to rely on, for example, things like classification. When it comes to classification, people, they say that this data is PII, or they say that this data is general. There is no automated way to determine what are the metrics inside the data. So the way we use BigID is to run its metadata across our entire data universe, be able to classify and truly, using AI, what is your data, where does it sit, how many times there are developers who would download data from production and upload it into Jira as a test case for the test environment, and it actually has PII information. It's impossible to figure all of those things out unless there are tens of people. Data governance teams in banks are hundreds of people, and they are going out and looking at all of these things manually. While structurally, if you use all these latest technologies that are now at our disposal and make sure that you leverage them as an integral part of your business, then we would realize that it's a moat, not a barrier. So thank you very much for your time. I'll be around if any one of you wants to ask any questions. Thank you very much.